Good morning. This is a certain privilege for my part to stand in front of such exalted gathering. At first, I am paying my cordial veneration and humble pranam at the lotus feet of the holy tribe. I am paying also my sincere respect to all the revered monks on the stage and sitting in front, and for enthusiastic audience, my warm wishes and hopeful vibes. Today's topic is Swami Vivekananda and his humanism. This is a really unique phenomenon in the history of human civilization to rouse striking concept of humanism as delineated by Swami Vivekananda towards his humanism. Entire the gravity as well as depth of his ideal is an undaunted truth, a burning glow of heart, an incredible association in between head and hand. Swamiji's concept of humanism expounded intensely human and universal. But it is also something more than human, for it derives its strength and sanction from the ever-present and inalienable divine spark in all men and women, and that constitutes its uniqueness. Man's strength and knowledge can be either destructive or constructive. They can give him and his fellow human life and love, joy and peace, or death and hatred, even sorrow and unfulfillment. Which of these two a man will choose will primarily depend on the spiritual development, the consciousness level that he has attained, only the secondarily of his economic and social environment. In today's society, most of the people are facing the crucial effect of alienation, depression, loneliness, crime, but other truth is not so obvious. Yet, India's experience demonstrates that poverty and crime did not go together. That poverty of pocket need not always mean poverty of heart. If the human consciousness functions at the sensate level and at the level of ego presiding over man's organic system, man can scatter only tension and peacelessness around him. But if the functioning of it originates from the deeper level of his divine dimension or from its closer layer, a man can surely touch the level of natural and spontaneous focusing point of love and peace and fearlessness in his million. A humanism that is strengthened and sustained by the ignition of divine spark in men is far different from the current humanism of the West, including its scientific humanism. There is a universality and dynamism. In the former, its energies are entirely positive and never negative. This is the unique and everlasting strength of Vivekananda's Vedantic humanism. Along with its range and relevance towards the force and social ambience, there is no word can exactly use to measure its unfathomable depth and gravity. He also accepts that need for manipulation of his socio-political conditions up to a point to ensure his growth and development. But he will insist that man must develop and grow further. That sort of development not yet restricts within any narrow limit. Rather, it means a full-fledged and complete development, both inwardly and outwardly. Thus, he must evolve and steadily unfold also the higher dimension possibilities hidden within him. This is echoed in modern biology in the concept of psychosocial evolution, of evolution rising from the organic level to the ethical and moral levels. Vivekananda would appreciate the remark of the Western thinker, it may be Victor Hugo, that we are not men yet, but only candidates to humanity. It seems that if there is the existence of certain fear in a man's entity, it can be the final decision almost that he has not overcome fear. It means further that he cannot be a guarantee for the peace and fearlessness of the rest of the world. Just on the eve of the Second World War, an English intellectual, Dr. Josiah Oldfield, in the course of a speech of war and internationalism, said apparently, referring to the Treaty and Versailles, more wars are caused by bad-tempered people seeking to discuss peace measures than by good-tempered people seeking to discuss war measures. The UNESCO preamble embodies this very sentiment. Since war begins in the mind of men, it is in the mind of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. Vivekananda's humanism fully endorsed this sentiment in a prompt and justified way. As per his universal message on humanism, its exact manifestation depends on the basis of expanding and flourishing humanistic impulses and behavior in so decent and soothing way. This is what need for the establishment of world peace and the functioning of the universal and dynamism humanistic is the overcoming of the beastliness in man through his education being carried beyond the intellectual to the spiritual dimension of his being. This is exactly called by Vivekananda as true religion. It throws sparkling glow towards the manifestation of the divinity already in man. The Atma, the one divine an immortal self in all is the only rational sanction, says Vivekananda. It pervades completely the upgradation and enhancement of ethical, moral, ideal, and ultimately spiritual status. Thus, the sustenance and development of humanism touches its zenith by manifolding the truest and most authentic exposure. The Upanishads therefore describe the Atma at all peace, Shantayam Atma. All the tension of man's mundane existence, all the complexes of his mental dimension become gently resolved in this hard dimension of human personality. This is humanism with the deepest spiritual import and therefore with the widest social relevance, most stable and steady, and therefore beyond the reach of the precious, narrow, and violent, and all political, radical, and religious prejudices, and passions. Standing in this present predicament, Vivekananda's concept of such unique humanistic approach is highly recommended for the ultimate development and enhancement of the whole world at large. And to execute this, we must be endowed with the sincerest oath by means of our regular activities as well as conducts. Then only the dream of Swamiji will be universalized by getting an impalpable humanitarian social ambience. Thank you.